over to you.
Thanks.
Okay, good morning all. Welcome to the Community and Services Committee meeting. Meeting is currently recorded and we have apologies from Councillor Ferguson. We will also welcome Councillor Wong.
It was here all
You're
along.
on time. I'm a very keen chair. Okay, I would like to have a mover and a seconder for apologies accepted from Councillor Ferg, please.
Right.
And Barry is a seconder. Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest today? And there are no matters lying on the table. So we haven't received any public forum requests for today. So I'll move on to the items. We need a confirmation of the agenda. So the agenda be confirmed without addition or alteration. And do I have a mover and a seconder?
I've got some good musical errors.
You have, okay.
If you'd like to extend the meeting a little bit.
Okay, sure.
They're in the
Yep.
chair's report. I'm about to amend this report. So page 22.16. If the outcome of the expression of interest is favourable rather than be favourable. And then point 18, organisation spelt wrong. And then point 22, Canada Road spelled incorrectly.
Thank you.
Turn it into one of them.
Find something.
Any other amendments to the report? No? Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wong moves and seconds, thank you. Okay, so confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 2nd of April 2024. I was an apology for that meeting, so I can't move this, but can we move that the minutes of the 2nd of April meeting be confirmed as true and correct? Wong and seconder. Lisa, thank you. Okay, wonderful. So item 1, the agenda today is for a new seat and memorial plaque request in honour of Ian Flanagan along Frankton's Calvin Peninsula track within the Calvin Heights Lakeside Reserve. So today we have Tarsi Kunches, who is the Parks Officer, Cemeteries and Heritage, and Tarsi, will be presenting the report. So would you like to give us any info?
I mean, I suppose first and foremost, thank you for your time, because I think I might be, the agenda's looking a bit light today.
Yeah.
So appreciate everybody coming together for this in particular. I'll take the reports as read, but I would like to add, especially with this one in particular, that the requester is Warren Skerritt, which might be a name that some are familiar with. He has he has worked for council before, longtime community member of the Queenstown Lake District Council, and it's his son-in-law that he's requesting a memorial seat for. If anybody has any questions in terms of that individual, happy to answer. Did add a little bit of information about him as an individual. Quite a tragic passing, that one, so happy to answer any questions.
No questions.
No, thank you for that, and thank you to the Skerritt family as well. Okay, so do we have a mover and a seconder for the bench and the plaque? Councillor Wong, thank you. And Barry Bruce, thank you. Okay. So item 2 is another seat. And this one is a new seat and memorial plaque in honour of Joanne Vera Hebond within the Frankton Domain Reserve. And again, Tarsi Kunches, thank you. Could you give us a little bit more info, please?
Absolutely. So another interesting situation in terms of the requester, it's actually the coworker of the husband who has lost his wife who's doing the requesting. So he did his best to provide information about the individual who the seat would be for. In general, the family who currently lives in Frankton are, again, longtime members of the community and particularly involved through their business colliers. So they've donated quite a bit of money to different organizations in the community, the Wakatipo High Foundation, hospice, things like that. So it would be a wonderful gesture if we could potentially provide a seat. And I think it's a wonderful gesture that the coworker is the one to actually request this on behalf of the husband.
Thank you. Any questions?
How old was she, if you don't mind me asking, do you know?
I don't know because they didn't provide that information. I actually will know that because she's going to be interred in one of our cemeteries. So just waiting on that information. But
Thank you. Okay, move on a second. Thank you. Okay, and item number 3 is the chair's report, which is page 20 on your. Thank you, Tarsi. Thank you. Appreciate you, Ryan. Okay. So this is just an update of projects of interest. We've got Riverside Road Management Plan, Jardine Clark Development Plan, the Wanaka MP Sports Lights, Community Sports Club meetings, Queenstown Sports Field Plan, Aquatic LPG replacement projects, our Community Spaces Report update, the NZ Up Alliance at the Frankton Golf Centre, 10-year plan, Coronet Forest revegetation, Wanaka Lakefront development, Glenorchy Marine car park upgrades, and Ladies Mile residential building, and the creativity and culture strategy. So quite a lot of updates in there. And we have the GM, Ken, what's your last name again? Bailey, sorry. Thank you. And to give us an update on that. So if you would like to provide us with any more info.
Happy to take questions and note the report being read. As Councillor Wong's picked up on some of the grammatical issues, it's good to learn. This is the inaugural Chair's report. There was an initiative that's come out of working with the committee about having more visibility about where we're at, a range of initiatives, projects, and some of the challenges that we have within the portfolio of the Community and Services Committee. And what we've set out with this first one is just a general overview on a number of key initiatives or projects, some of which are just close to being closed out, have been, or about to be commenced. Happy to walk you through any particular detail that you may have about any of these initiatives that are on the table, and also take on board anything further that the committee would like to see as part of the regular Chair's report, and working with the Chair and how we take this document forward.
There you go.
Thank you.
Through the Chair, I was just wondering whether you could talk to the 2 design concepts for Kelvin Peninsula's at Kelvin Peninsula's meeting around Jardine Park development. Just understanding or trying to understand what the major changes might be there.
So we've had a previous reserve management plan for that entire site, just through you, Chair. And Councillor Wong, we've recently been approached by members of the community just about how we continue to evolve that site. The committee may or may not be aware that post-storm events, we undertook removal of quite a number of stands of wildling pines and did some, restoration of native planting through the donation of Sir Ewan's family, the Edgar family. We've invested in the tennis court. We've worked alongside the nursery on the development of that site, and we've also worked closely with the croquet club that you'll be familiar with some of the removal of trees, plus other amenity values that the community really quite clear focus about. With this particular plan, we've looked to pull together or weave together all the initiatives and aspirations within what we can not do within that footprint. Some won't be realised, some we could certainly look to take forward and bring back to this committee. And staff and parks have been working on how we can work alongside forming a plan which is currently in draft format. We'll report back on some of those initiatives. We've certainly got strong interest for third-party investment. So it could be the likes of Rotary, family support and other interest groups who would like to see things such as barbecues and other amenity values added, not just, large scale, but initiatives we've seen across the district around how we can take forward the use of that site. It's certainly a really highly valued space, and it offers a lot. It often finds itself being used for some of the movie settings, as well as, popular wedding photos. So there's quite a bit that we've tried to weave into where we've got to with that piece of planning. But it's certainly on the back of a desire by that immediate community to do more with that area, and have quite a clear blueprint of a plan to take it forward. Is that useful?
Would we be able to see the plans that were shown to the committee?
So what we plan to do is bring it back to the committee. Yep, definitely. You can certainly make that and make sure you get a full briefing on that.
Thank you.
May I just interrupt on a question that follows on from that with related to the drop-in session in early May? Was that well attended? Was that happened? Assume it's happening.
It has happened. I will come back and confirm. Anecdotally, I'm just checking the memory back. I understand it was. I was away at that time, but I will confirm what that looked like in the makeup of actually the community that might have come through for that session as well, and report back to the committee chair.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Cody, would you like to go first?
I was just going to commend the report just as a way and structure of being able to give both councillors and the community updates on where things are happening. Stimulating the community board with our chair's report is a forum for councillors to have input to let the community know what's going on. I think it's a really great way to give a short little update to keep people in the know and ensure that if there's anything that triggers things, it comes up. So I just wanted to commend both Ferg and yourself for preparing this and just to sort of keep that going on through other departments. It's great.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair, one of the things too, Councillor, we're really open to if there's initiatives this committee would like to see as a consistent, particularly through where it's at stage, not just at the closure or the start. Like a particular project the committee has a view on that they know is important to the communities of interest. We would certainly be open to bringing them back on a regular basis so that you're well informed.
That's really appreciated because I know a lot of people in the community there are things that are more time precious or more politically sensitive. So that open-minded and transparent relationship is just kind of crucial to ensure that people keep up to date. So yeah, really appreciate your leadership. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to go first?
Oh, it's just, I didn't actually get the question from that, what part were you talking about? Was that the Jardine one? Or?
Yeah.
Yes, it was Calvin Heights, Councillor.
So just a question in general on one of my pet subjects, but development plans. We've got an idea how many we've got coming up, and because as we go into the next year, we talk about operational costs and how many we'll be using consultants to do. Noting that planning and strategy, we're working on getting in-house, for example, landscape architect type expertise. So there's a more opportunity to use internal rather than going out for external expertise on some of these things, or not? And if you through you, Councillor, so there's Chair, excuse me, there's two aspects to your question. What have we got on the forward program, and then the cost. So taking with the cost just for clarity, you're seeking austerity sort of measures and how we're looking to balance the investment of external third-party contractors as well as what we can do in-house. Okay, so on the forward program, I'll report back to the chair and the committee, but just at a high level, we've still got the closure of the reserve management plans for Ben Lone and Queenstown Hill to close out. We've got the ongoing work in Mount Iron with the reserve management plan that's coming back to the community board next week for another round of feedback and consultation. We've got the likes of the Jardine Park, you'll be aware of Lismore and the Peninsula we've closed out. And then I think we've also got the river initiative that's in the report. And there's two others that are potentially live at the moment. Okay, what I will do is report back through the chair for this committee and also ensure you receive a copy of what the forward program looks like over the next 12 to 36 months. Excellent. And just to close out too, your point around the austerity measures,
Some obviously expire in terms of that planning piece, whether it's a reserve management plan or a development plan. Others are driven out of initiative, often through the lens of a community or a community-led group. There's not just one mechanism that keeps these or bring these to our attention. The other aspect is we will consistently require the measure of support through a third party, and we clearly operate that within the engagement process through our procurement settings in council. So your point's well taken, and we are constantly looking at that, and also the budgets are loaded up against the annual or long-term plan as well.
Yeah. So one other quick question on the community sports club meetings. I didn't actually realise about these, but is there any way we can get a heads up when they're having the meetings, and are any opportunity for elected members to attend? Or I'm not sure.
So through you, Chair,
Sure.
we haven't invited elected officials. What we've done is taken the initiative on the back of the steering group conversations regarding the LTP and the importance of fronting with some of the communities of interest. And it's not been intentional that the councillors or elected officials haven't been there. We've actually fronted a number of community groups of late at an officer level to ensure that we're having full and frank conversations and understanding a number of the frustrations, candidly, that we've got within the settings. With the sports sector, we hosted 2 breakfasts recently that were supported through Sport Otago and also through the kind support of 1 or 2 sponsors. We just had one this week in the Upper Clutha area on Monday morning, and we had one a couple of weeks back at QLDC, which was well attended, maybe 50 to 60 punters. And that was both breakfasts were actually well attended by a range of interest groups in the sports and rec sector. And the reason that elected officials weren't a part of the invite, we did look at that, was you'll be aware that we've also recently been out for the consultation on fees and charges. So we fundamentally took the initiative to bring together those that could set an early agenda and an early morning kickoff to accommodate the volunteer base. And we've fronted on both the LPP settings and also the fees and charges, and had the opportunity to engage in some pretty full-hearted discussions about some of the settings, some of the challenges, the economic challenges for a number of the sports clubs, and a whole host of aspects within that as part of our commitment to engage in that stakeholder setting. We would certainly welcome the opportunity with our elected officials and particularly members of this committee, particularly when we're in that consultation phase with the draft LTP, and if there's any other opportunities of that nature.
That sounds good. Where do you hold the breakfast?
Rugby club.
Okay. So some of that feedback, well, I need to, staff are working on our session for next Tuesday for the grants and everything, so anything picked up on that, I guess will flow into that, yeah.
Can I ask how that is being reported back to us? That feedback from the club meetings?
Yes, Chair, you can ask.
I can answer that.
Will you answer?
No, I can, Chair, I can. We didn't record the meetings, or we took key actions out of it. We've received a number of follow-up correspondence from a number of people that were at that session. And what we articulated quite clearly was the process around how those groups and our key sport and rec for that purpose. And it's no different to the environmental sector, the bike sector, community wellbeing sector. We've been making it clear about the LPP process and what and how they need to engage in that, and be well informed about the opportunities around the submissions. So it was very much about making sure they were. So the initiative was based around bringing parties of like together to actually address a number of the concerns, questions, or some of the opportunities in its sector, rather than just being picked off one at a time. And then also informing around process. So LTP, what does the submission process look like for those that aren't familiar, and the importance of engaging in that process.
And that's going to occur probably every 6 months.
What we did subsequent to that. So I'll come back and just check what sort of notes we've got some of the key actions, key themes, but we can certainly report back to this committee. We sent out a survey monkey at the conclusion of the event, asking for people's feedback. And the feedback was they would appreciate the opportunity to connect on a 6-monthly basis. On that point, coming back through you, Chair, to Councillor Cox's point, we would really see the potential for elected officials to be a part of those sort of ongoing discussions. You know, it might be quite granular and mechanical in means, but it's certainly what they've registered as the ongoing interest in connecting more in that setting with the council.
Okay, thank you. I think it would be great to have that aggregated feedback for the committee. Thank you. Lisa?
Thank you, through the chair. My question's around the aquatic LPG replacement project. Lithium petroleum, that's just noted by Councillor Bruce that it might be a typo. But in particular around Arrowtown, my question is, well, I was on site yesterday with some residents of the Arrowtown pool, because we're undertaking some work there at the moment with fruit trimming and things around the pool edge, and they were discussing the LPG project. So there is awareness of a plan and progression for the Arrowtown pool area. We've got this what's happening here energy in Arrowtown currently across a wide platform of council work and projects. And so they asked me to come to the pool to look at answering their questions around what's happening here. I wonder whether we might be able to start getting some QR codes back to one pages that can give a timeline of some of the decisions or some of the steps we're taking in relation to some of these projects. The questions in particular were around the removal of the large tree by the toddler pool and whether that's been considered as part of the LPG project, because it's lifting the path between Rose Douglas Park and the pool. There's a concrete path area there which is being raised by the roots of the tree quite considerably and is broken up and uneven. And there is incident reports of people tripping on it, and one gentleman who was staying at the property behind tripped and fell and smashed his expensive camera equipment on it. So the community are asking, how far do these plans go? I can remember being on site with Michaela and she talked me through the different staging and what was happening. But even having been on that site visit, my recall was not adequate to address the community's questions. So things like that, I'm thinking, can we have these are the steps that are coming up. We're trimming the roots because of this, we're going to move the plant. That tree's not coming out or whatever it might be. Yeah, is that something we could consider?
Through chair, yes, we would.
Yeah.
You'll be aware we're doing quite a bit more in that let's talk space and actually referencing back quite a bit in that project update. So coming back to the actual LPG, lithium, gas, petroleum, aspect of what we're looking at. So the initiative around that is reporting against the fact that it's been a project initiative that's been around probably since the inception of the climate and action plan around the biodiversity. And our pools continue to be one of the key users of energy and emissions offset. And we've been looking over a period of time about how we can actually position this within a fiscally tight or challenging sort of setting that we've got. So the intent with actually funding the 3 sites, which would include the Wanaka site and QLDC, is actually going to market and understanding what's out there and how we can potentially move the dial on what we've got in terms of taking this forward. Still a draft LTP to be submitted out, shared with the community. But it's this actual piece we've applied a bit of innovation. We've talked to different people within the sector, the energy sector, and tried to get an understanding of pulling a procurement document that will actually go out and get a sense for us to report back about this is the actual state and play of the market. And then we can look at how we bring that forward. So that's the LPG, just conversion aspect. And then coming back to your point about the footprint and what's happening around that site for the wider community and the eagerness of that community to understand more. Yes, we like the timeline or project initiative, or officers need to join yourself and other elected officials alongside that community. We're certainly open to doing so. And then you pointed out a large tree. I would be very keen for us to look at a roading solution rather than the technique of a large tree that would be very much valued within that setting, I'm sure. So again, we can definitely look at that.
I think it's that point that they see work happening on site at the moment. They immediately jump to ahead of the ball.
Yes.
The LPG information.
Yes.
And
So we're-
therefore they're saying what else is happening, and looking at this, we're not even at a procurement stage yet.
No,
So then how do I answer the question of what we are doing currently that
Right.
has all the work
so
underway?
we can assist this committee with some comments around that.
Yeah.
And it's very much in its infancy, and it's about actually saying this has been kicking around for a while. How do we actually package this up and start testing this with the market, and where is the maturity around the different energy sources or resources or outcomes that could potentially fit with how we need to take this forward?
And my recall around that footprint was like there's 3 trees in that space, and we did talk about some improvements to the toddler splash area and things.
Yes.
My thinking was perhaps that tree had been earmarked
Oh,
for some, but yeah, again, it's having that
right.
that timeline of not just the LPB picture in there, but what other decisions have we made on that footprint that we might be able to communicate.
Okay, I can check the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bruce.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to acknowledge the good work that was done on the AMP showgrounds in Wanaka, the removal of the old hedge and the already improved visual amenity that we have. The contractors did a great job there. They've left the site looking good, and the enhanced approach as people are coming into town from McDougall Street, the enhanced views are quite amazing. So very well done with that one. And the other thing I'd like to acknowledge is the good work the staff did for the opening of the Luggett Playground on Sunday. I think the staff went beyond the call of duty well and truly, and it was a very positive occasion. So if you could convey grateful thanks to staff, we appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate that, through you, Chair. Yep. On
Thank
both
you.
accounts, thank you. And on just on the AMP Society, I met with the new chair this week, who I met during the show. And the general manager just talking about that site in next year's event. I think this year probably they're doing the wash up. I understand it was very successful. And they're certainly keen to work with the local community board and taking forward next year's event. So thank you.
Just going to note that there's another grammatical spelling error. We've got cherry trees rather than cherry trees.
Peter got quite a cheap.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're happy
Very happy trees.
Happy trees.
Cherry trees. It's good.
We received quite a bit of feedback about the cherry.
Councillor Wong.
May I ask another question, please, Chair? I note 516 Ladies Miles on the report. And it's great to see that there's some things progressing there, and it states here July 2024 demolition to be complete. Are we confident that that's going to hit its target to date? And secondly, once the building is removed, will it be able to be accessed by the public at all? And any other update actually on 516?
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. So you'll recall that Council had asked for some action on that site, particularly around the demolition of it within this year. I think the last time we brought that report would have been October, maybe last year. Don't hold me to the accuracy of that, but certainly the management of that building was one of the key directives that Council and yourselves as committee have given us about how we progress that. We've been working with demolition companies of late around how we can actually look at the affordability of moving that and what we need to do to make sure that the building's potentially removed and also the services are capped as a minimum. So we will keep you posted, but we've held ourselves to quite an account around actually looking at how we can take that forward and afford to do so. There's a couple of officers working on that right now as we speak. We're looking at how we can align it with some of the work. You'll be aware there's demolition occurring up at Lakeview, and if there's opportunities around the settings of procurement to engage with some of the companies that are currently in town around how we can do that, within that setting. So we'll keep you well informed, but yes, we are looking to hold ourselves to what required of us to have that building and that site looked at within this year.
Exciting.
Your second point, councillor, just regarding access to that site or that particular area, it continues, to be, that whole site continues to be well used by casual recreational users, a lot of dog walkers and children still taking the opportunity to forage and harvest out of the back there. And we're very open about that. We've continued to keep that building a designated zone for safety with all the barriers in place. So we wouldn't see any of the access issues being disrupted. And potentially enhanced. That's the only aspect that we've got in the budget, but improvements on that site. But within the settings for the draft LPP, it's also looking at how we invest, as we've set out in previous reports last year, about getting on with some of the work the community in this council would like to see progress. It includes, some of the facilities, the use of the space, the open space, particularly around a sport or recreation opportunity for the local community, and some of the other aspects which include car parking.
Do we know yet whether the fencing would stay or whether that would go
Around
the building, current existing building?
Barriers.
The barriers?
Yeah.
Councillor, once we've demolished it, we'll be able to reduce that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the community would be happy with that.
And just to note for any community watching that it's the demolition of the house, but not the garage behind.
Thank you. Yes, and we've been asked, as you, councillor, previous asked, is the community and the community association about the retention of that rock wall, the stone wall. So there's a part of the amenity to be considered for future planning as well.
Right. Okay.
It's really just a timing aspect, but we are certainly well ahead of what council's given us as a directive to treat that green site.
Thanks.
Thank you. I just have one more question that is going back to the LPG conversion. Obviously, we're going out to procure that at the moment, and I'm just wondering if we've got any idea of what that might look like, or we're still in such an early stage that we don't know whether it might be solar, or we don't know what kind of energy we're actually looking to.
Chair, we've scoped this on previous occasions, and all the indicative sort of feedback through energy experts and what the team have been doing, led by Simon Battrick, would indicate, a heat pump or an electrified solution.
Okay.
I mean, it's how you deal with that. What we are stating in this is that we're actually open to understand if there's any other technologies that have moved that dial from what's been done a number of years back, and how that could potentially be looked at and investigated as part of a solution for this site. So there's a number of challenges with that, but because you're obviously retrofitting to existing buildings, not building from new. What the requirements are to connect any solution into the existing plant rooms and all the aspects you get with a heated pool solution, as well as the filtration and cleaning of those sites. And then on the back of that is actually also looking at the affordability and the return on that investment over a period that's going to demonstrate why we would go with any one particular solution.
Okay. And as part of that, are we insulating the main hall in terms of reducing energy efficiency? Increasing energy efficiency and reducing energy usage.
It's not been scoped per se,
Okay.
but it's certainly the efficiency of that whole aspect could be an aspect of what's reported back in the
Okay.
data market through the innovations. Because one of the points we are aware of is the solution needs to make sure it's actually to the betterment of that site, which includes the insulation and any other offsets such as drafts, whatever it looks like.
Okay. Thank you.
And with the cost of electricity too, that'll be affected too on the solution.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not. We're going to market with an open mind, but understanding what the limitations could be. But we're certainly keen to work with the sector.
Yeah, and that's part of the scoping.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I've just got one more question, or maybe not a question, but maybe just some commentary. So in the update, we've got the 10-year plan as part of the infrastructure strategy. We've got that social infrastructure is generally excluded. And we've now combined both Three Waters and social infrastructure into one strategy. So this is a major milestone and will give councillors community visibility of what all infrastructure looks like over a 30-year window. Did you want to comment at all on the Three Waters and social infrastructure into one strategy?
Chair, my comments would actually be just aligned with the work we've been doing in that space. And again, through the directive of this council, there's been a lens around how do we capture some of the aspirations initiatives beyond the 10-year window that we have in the social space. And, you know, we're seeing firsthand a lot of drive within the community around a range of great concepts, whether it be in the arts, whether it be in the green, the biking, the sport and the rec space. And what we've often been operating within is a 3-year, 10-year parameter window that for fiscally or other, you know, reasons, it doesn't actually reflect that the aspirations of that community.
Yeah, okay.
So with the 30-year window, what we see that then is also the asset management that we need to apply. And it's been an area that we've really honed in on, understanding the life cycle of some of our venues and facilities, as well as some of our other assets within that community services space, but across the social infrastructure, and how we combine all that to actually also identify where we need to put our energies around the development of business cases. And we've done quite a bit of that in that whole sort of approach about making sure the foundations to inform a good receipt to bring to this table and our community will be well set up for the future of whatever happens over that 30-year plan. And we appreciate the horizon's always within that 3-year window, but it's how we take it forward. In terms of the amalgamation or the integration, as you pointed out, we're not dying the ditch about any of that. It's really about making sure we've daylighted and reported to our governance what the aspirations and intent of some of the needs are with our community, particularly in this high growth area.
Okay.
Is that covered off some of the aspects that you were seeing?
Yeah, it's more just to, I guess, make it transparent that that's actually happening for our community. So,
Yes. And again, what we aim to do is actually make sure this committee's got a briefing on that social element of the 30-year program, so we can walk you through that and receive any feedback on that as well. And look, that'll be evolution rather than revolution.
Yeah.
But the fact we've held ourselves to account, there was another directive out of this council to look at what was the bigger picture. We've done really well to pull that together in the period of time ahead.
thank you. And sorry, I'm just going to ask one very last question, and that is, because it's quite exciting, is the Coronet Forest revegetation with Te Tapu Tane. Have you got any more info on that you could speak to us about?
Chair, we're actually in the company this week with the Hui for the blue-green network.
Yep.
And you know, that initiative which we moved into market applied some of the more social, I guess, license around how we work with the long-term aspirations of the community to achieve that contract. So what we can say is the contract signed, we've got E3 Scientific on board with the local agency that will assist in making sure we meet all the key milestones in the delivery over the timeframe of that project. The nurseries are humming. The contractor that's been appointed is working currently at looking at the setup of the sites and the operational changeover from it being a forestry site to also, you know, how we start taking forward the nursery requirements. And all the other aspects, including animal and pest plant management, which we've been working through with our parks team led by Brian and Pringle. And what we can do again is actually come back to this committee with a briefing on where that is over the next 3 to 6 months and make sure you're well informed. But that's a genuinely exciting opportunity around that whole green infrastructure.
Yeah.
And actually just building on that, one of the aspects around that green infrastructure, the work we've recently done with Mount Klein and the community board and councillors over that side of the dot, which we've actually managed to progress the management agreement, heads of agreement for council to take over that management of that site as we work towards the conservation board looking to hand over to council in the next couple of years, the entirety of that site as well.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you, through Chair. This isn't in the report, but the Wanaka Wild and Conifer Group have been asking a few councillors about Queenstown Hill and waiting on a geotech report from QLDC. Just wondering if there's any update on that report.
I know that we, subsequent to the discussion we had here with the board chair and members of the board with this committee, the team have looked into the rockfall geotech. I think there was one other aspect we needed to cover off about that site. Just through you, Chair, I need to check, councillor, where we've got to with that. We are certainly acutely aware of that, because also you'll recall that one of the aspects, I think it was the chair, Mr. Grant Hensman, tabled was the actual family you know, the farm, the Middletons, thank you, was also, quite invested in how we progress this conversation. So again, I can come back to you about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no further questions. Can we have a mover and a seconder for the chair's report, please?
Happy to move.
Thank you. And councillor Watson seconding, thank you. Okay, well, that is the conclusion of the meeting, so I declare the meeting closed at 10:39 AM.